This is the third installment of our interview with Leila Shaver around compliance in the Internet age. Clearly, in the sort of new economy, social marketing, social media marketing, digital advertising, increasingly important, increasingly visible, and seemingly sort of directionally where things are going. What are your views on that, and what would you point to as the most frequently asked questions about using social media?
Sure. So definitely more and more advisors are turning to digital marketing, going on social media. One of the biggest questions we get actually are, questions about client reviews. So obviously advisors aren't allowed to have testimonials about their services. So a client can't write a review and then the advisor use that as part of his or her advertising or marketing for his or her business. So one of the questions that comes up is, okay, well, on Facebook, I have a Facebook page, for example, and people can come and post on my Facebook page. Well, what do I do if someone posts a review, unsolicited? So in that kind of an example, Facebook pages, you have certain options in terms of the privacy or control of how people post. You can actually require that posts get pre-approved before they are made public on your business's page, and that's one way of kind of controlling reviews, for example. So when it comes to social media, you have to be very kind of cognizant of these requirements that are in place. So, for example, no testimonials, and ensuring that the platform you're on provides you a way to control what's being posted and said about your business, so you're not running afoul of any rules and violating them. Now, on the other hand, regulators, they understand that you don't always have that control. So there are circumstances where clients may post reviews of your business and you have no control over how they're posted on a particular site, and that's okay. So you don't have to be afraid of using social media just because you may not have control over a potential platform and how information is used on that platform. You do have some wiggle room in terms of, to the extent that you're able to control content, you need to make sure you're not running afoul of these different advertising rules. And you have to make sure that you're keeping copies of your advertising. So again, taking snapshots of your website, taking snapshots of your Facebook page, keeping blog content. You want to make sure that, you're keeping track of all that. And I would say too, with all the different social media platforms out there, certainly I think advisors do have to do more work in terms of their branding. Who do they want to provide services to? What services do they want to provide? And how are they going to create their brand? So thinking about what are the appropriate forums. So there's Instagram, there's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Vine. I mean, there's like a new one every day. And I finally have reached an age where I've stopped trying new social media platforms. But, a lot of these rules, they still need to be worried about. So one issue that comes up is the use of the word free consultations. Well, you're not allowed to use the word free. And regulators take the position that a free consultation is not really free because you're trying to sell them on something. So we just use a synonym of free. So you can come in for a consultation at no cost for the advisor's time. So again, being aware of using a word like that, or another word like expert. Are you truly an expert? Who is defining you as an expert? When it comes to social media and digital marketing, another issue that comes up are awards. You were named, 2016 Best Advisor. well, who gave you that award? What were the prerequisites for receiving that award? Did you pay for it? Were you nominated for it? Was there a voting process? So we see a lot of those now with the accessibility of the internet the way it is now. There are all these awards out there that you can go online and fill out a form and be considered for. So again, you have to disclose that kind of information when it comes to awards. Like, how did you get the award? What were the prerequisites for it? And you can't use anything outdated. So you can't say on your website, we're the best advisor in Missouri, and it was based on an award you got in 2010. It's no longer relevant because it's dated. So while you want to use that kind of information in your social media maybe to get more clients in the door, you just have to keep in mind that just because the forum may have changed, the rules haven't. So you just have to make sure that with these new platforms, you're still complying with your requirements and still ensuring you're not violating any parts of the advertising rule.
So, in addition to some of the great red flags you just touched on, what are a couple of the other sort of biggest pitfalls with regards to social media and digital marketing? What is it that tends to get advisors into trouble or confuses advisors the most?
Sure. Well, I would say what would seem the most obvious is just that some advisors don't keep up with their social media. So they may have launched a website, but they haven't kept up the website. So the website may have a tab, that, says Meet the Team or About Us, and it's pictures of all the people in the advisory business, who the IARs are, who your admin staff is. But that can be an issue if you don't keep up with it, because then a regulator can come in and say, this is from like 3 years ago. Half these people don't work here anymore. This is really misleading. We've had issues with advisors who were part of an RA network, or they came from a BD, and they still have outdated information on their websites in terms of maybe disclosures or still discussing how they're affiliated with another advisor or with a network or with a BD when they're not. These are all things that a regulator will say is misleading to a potential client and could be marked as a deficiency. So certainly if you're going to utilize websites and digital media, social media and digital marketing, you want to make sure you keep up with it. You want to make sure it gets updated and that you review it to ensure that it has the most up-to-date information. If you move your office, you got to update not just Form ADV and your letterhead, but you got to update your Facebook page and your website, etc. Another issue that comes up a lot in terms of not only just the outdatedness of your different social media is disclosing it in the first place. So in Form ADV, you're required to disclose anything you have online that you use for your business. So a lot of advisors will disclose their website. Well, that means you have to also disclose your LinkedIn profile. You have to also disclose your business's Facebook page. You have to provide all those links to the advisors or to the regulators. Because if they go and Google your name or your firm name and they find all these different platforms where you have a business page or a professional profile and you haven't disclosed them, they're going to see that as, you failed to amend Form ADV. You failed to disclose all this different social media accounts that you have that clients can access and review. And it also goes to a failure in your books and records requirement because you're required to have copies of all the content you have on all those different social media platforms. So it's a lot of the issues that come up are actually things that are really simple and easy to do. They just kind of fall to the wayside or aren't considered or get forgotten. And again, that kind of goes to what regulators do, which is go for the low-hanging fruit.
Makes perfect sense. Maybe as a final conversation point and a good way to close today's session, talk a little bit more around the line between providing education and offering advice and how advisors should be thinking about that.
Sure. So, a lot of advisors, the way they generate interest in their business is they'll do blogs, whether it's posting an article that they've written or they're sharing on a website or, LinkedIn or whatever. You want to create a line between perhaps discussing what an ETF is and what ETF a potential client should be investing in. Because if you are giving them advice and you are in Georgia and someone out in California reads your article on what ETFs to invest in, and they go and follow your advice, you could be deemed to be giving advice to a client in California. Then it's going to, spark questions about registration in the state of California. Are you properly registered? What if your recommendation is taken and that client loses a lot of money and they decide they want to come sue you for it? So you want to make sure that you are being very clear in terms of you have to be a client of the firm to get specific advice. You want to make sure you've done a suitability analysis to make sure the advice is appropriate for that person based on their financial situation. And so there are a lot of things that should go into making a prudent recommendation to a client. And you want to make sure you're not running afoul of regulators, creating any potential legal issues, and then avoiding, failure to register in certain states because your advice reaches someone outside of your own state where you're registered. So it's really important that you have the policies and procedures in place so that when content is generated, there's someone who knows how to review it and what information they should look for in terms of flagging something as, this isn't just educational, this is advice, we shouldn't post it. And that'll really save an advisor in the long term from regulatory headaches and potential legal liability.
Oh, it makes sense and great advice. Leila, I think this is probably a great place for us to wrap up, and I'd like to thank you very much for spending time with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. If you'd like to receive more insightful tips about growing your business, sign up for Folio Institutional's blog at info.folioinstitutional.com/blog. Neither Folio Institutional, its parent, Folio Financial Incorporated, or any sister companies have a contractual relationship with Leila Shaver. This is the third installment of our interview with Leila Shaver. If you missed parts 1 or 2, please visit our website. If you'd like to receive more insightful tips about growing your business, sign up for Folio Institutional's blog at info.folioinstitutional.com/blog. Neither Folio Institutional, its parent, Folio Financial Incorporated, or any sister companies have a contractual relationship with Leila Shaver.